8-year-old blind Emma clutched her white cane Snowy at airport security when HOA board member Margaret Thornfield ripped it from her tiny hands, screaming it was just a stick for attention. 3 minutes later, Margaret was arrested on federal charges, fired from her job, and became the internet's most hated person. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Sarah Mitchell held her 8-year-old daughter Emma's hand tightly as they approached the airport security checkpoint. Emma's white cane tapped rhythmically against the polished floor, a sound that had become as familiar to Sarah as her own heartbeat. The little girl had been blind since birth, but her spirit shone brighter than any star Sarah had ever seen. "Mommy, are we really going to see Grandma in California?" Emma whispered, her face glowing with excitement. "Yes, sweetheart. Just a few more steps through security and then we'll be on our way," Sarah replied, squeezing her daughter's small hand. They had been planning this trip for months. Emma's grandmother lived alone and rarely got visitors. This vacation meant everything to both of them. Sarah had saved every penny from her job as a night shift nurse to afford these plane tickets. As they joined the security line, Sarah noticed a woman in an expensive business suit standing behind them. The woman had perfectly styled blonde hair, designer sunglasses perched on her head, and carried a Louis Vuitton handbag. She kept checking her gold watch and sighing loudly. "Excuse me," the woman said sharply, tapping Sarah on the shoulder. "I'm in first class. I need to get through this line faster." Sarah turned around politely. "I'm sorry, but we're all waiting in the same line. The TSA agents will help everyone as quickly as they can." The woman's eyes narrowed as she looked down at Emma. "What's wrong with that child? Why does she have that stick?" Sarah felt her protective instincts flare up. "This is my daughter Emma. She's blind and this is her white cane. It helps her navigate safely." "Well, that's not my problem," the woman snapped. "I have an important business meeting in Los Angeles. I can't be delayed because of some disabled kid." Emma's grip on Sarah's hand tightened. Even at 8 years old, she could sense the hostility in the woman's voice. "Ma'am, please lower your voice," Sarah said firmly. "We're not causing any delay. We're simply waiting our turn like everyone else." The woman rolled her eyes dramatically. "Do you know who I am? I'm Margaret Thornfield. I'm on the board of directors for Sunset Hills HOA, and I don't have time for this nonsense." Sarah had heard that name before. Margaret Thornfield was notorious in their neighborhood for her cruel treatment of families who didn't meet her impossible standards. She had tried to get the Mitchells evicted twice for minor violations like having their trash cans out 1 hour too early. As they moved closer to the security checkpoint, Margaret grew more impatient. She began muttering complaints under her breath about inconvenient people, and why disabled children should fly at different times. Emma tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, why is that lady so angry?" "Some people just don't understand kindness, sweetheart," Sarah whispered. "But we know better, don't we?" Emma nodded, though her usual bright smile had faded. When they finally reached the TSA agent, Sarah began explaining Emma's needs. "My daughter is blind and uses this white cane for mobility. I have her medical documentation right here." The young TSA agent, whose name tag read Officer Martinez, smiled warmly at Emma. "Hey there, sweetheart. That's a very important cane you have. We'll take extra good care of it, okay?" Emma's face lit up. "Thank you. Her name is Snowy because she's white like snow." Officer Martinez chuckled. "Snowy is a perfect name. We'll make sure she goes through the scanner safely." Behind them, Margaret was becoming increasingly agitated. "This is ridiculous," she shouted. "Why does this child get special treatment? I demand to speak to your supervisor." "Ma'am, please calm down," Officer Martinez said professionally. "We follow standard procedures for all passengers with medical devices." "Medical device?" Margaret scoffed. "It's just a stick. Anyone could carry a stick and claim it's medical." The entire security area fell silent. Other passengers turned to stare at Margaret in disbelief. Sarah felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger. "That's enough," Sarah said, her voice shaking with controlled fury. "You have no right to speak about my daughter that way." But Margaret wasn't finished. She stepped forward and, before anyone could react, grabbed Emma's white cane right out of her small hands. "Let me show you how unnecessary this really is," Margaret declared, holding the cane above her head like a trophy. Emma stumbled backward, suddenly disoriented without her primary navigation tool. She reached out frantically, trying to find something stable to hold onto. "My cane!" Emma cried out, tears streaming down her face. "Please give me back Snowy." The security area erupted into chaos. Other passengers began shouting at Margaret, demanding she return the cane immediately. Officer Martinez rushed forward, but Margaret had already stepped back, clutching the cane possessively. "This proves my point," Margaret announced loudly. "She's fine without it. This whole blind act is just for attention and special privileges." Sarah's world went red with rage, but before she could move, something unexpected happened. A tall man in a business suit stepped forward from the crowd. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to return that mobility device immediately," he said in a calm but authoritative voice. Margaret looked him up and down dismissively. "And who exactly are you?" The man reached into his jacket and pulled out a badge. "I'm Detective James Rodriguez with the airport police. What you just did constitutes theft of a medical device from a disabled minor, which is a federal crime." Margaret's face went pale. "Federal crime? Don't be ridiculous. It's just a stick." "That stick is registered medical equipment," Detective Rodriguez explained. "Taking it from someone who relies on it for mobility is considered assault under federal disability protection laws." Officer Martinez had already called for backup, and within minutes 2 more airport police officers arrived on the scene. Margaret's confident demeanor began to crumble. "Now wait just a minute," she stammered. "I was just making a point about fairness in the security line." "By traumatizing a blind child?" Detective Rodriguez's voice was ice cold. "Ma'am, you're under arrest." As the officers approached Margaret, she finally realized the gravity of her situation. She looked around desperately, seeing only disgusted faces and phones recording her humiliation. "Please, I'm Margaret Thornfield. I'm on the HOA board. I'm an important person in this community." "Important people don't steal canes from blind children," Detective Rodriguez replied as he handcuffed her. Officer Martinez gently returned Snowy to Emma, who hugged the cane tightly against her chest. "Thank you," she whispered through her tears. "You're very brave, sweetheart," Officer Martinez said softly. "And Snowy missed you too." As Margaret was being led away, she made one final desperate attempt to save herself. "This is all a misunderstanding. I'll pay for the girl's whole trip. I'll make a donation." Detective Rodriguez paused and looked back at her. "Ma'am, did you just attempt to bribe federal officers? Because that's another charge we'll need to add." Margaret's face went completely white as she realized she had just made everything worse for herself. The crowd that had gathered began to applaud as Margaret was escorted out of the security area. Several passengers approached Sarah and Emma to offer support and encouragement. An elderly woman knelt down next to Emma. "Sweetheart, you handled that so bravely. That lady was very wrong and I'm proud of how strong you were." Emma smiled through her tears. "Thank you. Snowy and I are okay now." A businessman handed Sarah his card. "I'm an attorney specializing in disability rights. If you need any help with legal proceedings, please call me." What that woman did was completely unacceptable. Sarah was overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers. After months of dealing with Margaret's harassment in their neighborhood, she had almost forgotten that most people were good and caring. Officer Martinez approached them with a smile. "Emma, would you like to go through security first? We want to make sure you and Snowy get to your plane safely." Emma nodded eagerly, her excitement about the trip finally returning. As they went through the security process, Officer Martinez explained everything to Emma step by step. "Now Snowy is going through her own little tunnel just like you're going through yours. She'll be waiting for you on the other side." Emma giggled. "Does Snowy get her own tiny airplane seat too?" "She gets the most important seat of all," Officer Martinez replied. "Right next to her best friend." After they collected their belongings, Detective Rodriguez approached Sarah with an update. "Mrs. Mitchell, I wanted to let you know that Ms. Thornfield has been charged with theft of medical equipment, assault on a minor, attempted bribery of federal officers, and creating a public disturbance." Sarah was amazed. "All of that from grabbing a cane? When you target someone because of their disability, especially a child, the law takes it very seriously," Detective Rodriguez explained. "She's looking at significant jail time and hefty fines." As Sarah and Emma walked toward their gate, Emma tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, why did that lady hate me? I never did anything to her." Sarah knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly. "Sweetheart, she didn't hate you. She was just a very unhappy person who doesn't understand that being different makes you special, not less important." "But why was she so mean about Snowy?" "Some people are afraid of things they don't understand," Sarah explained gently. "But you know what? All those other people stood up for you because they could see how wonderful and brave you are." Emma thought about this for a moment. The police officer was really nice. And that old lady said I was brave. You're brave, Emma. You're the bravest person I know. 3 days later, while they were enjoying their vacation in California, Sarah received a phone call from their neighbor, Mrs. Chin. "Sarah, you won't believe what happened to Margaret Thornfield," Mrs. Chin said excitedly. "What do you mean?" The video of what she did to Emma went viral on social media. The Sunset Hills HOA called an emergency meeting and voted her off the board immediately. They said her behavior was completely against everything the community stands for. Sarah was shocked. The video went viral? Someone at the airport posted it online and it's been shared millions of times. People are calling it, "Karen takes blind girl's cane," and everyone is absolutely outraged. Margaret has become the most hated person on the internet. Sarah felt a mix of emotions. She was glad that people were supporting Emma, but she also felt a bit sorry for how far Margaret had fallen. "There's more," Mrs. Chin continued. "Margaret's real estate company fired her this morning. Apparently, they were getting hundreds of angry calls from people who saw the video. They said they couldn't have someone like that representing their business." Sarah sat down heavily. In just 3 days, Margaret's entire life had been turned upside down because of her 3 minutes of cruelty toward a little girl. "The best part," Mrs. Chin added, "is that the community has started a fundraiser called Emma's Angels to help families with disabled children afford travel and medical equipment. They've already raised over $50,000. Sarah began to cry. After years of struggling to pay for Emma's medical needs and dealing with people like Margaret, she couldn't believe how much support they were receiving. When she told Emma about the fundraiser, her daughter's face glowed with joy. "Mommy, does this mean other kids like me will get help too?" "Yes, sweetheart. Your bravery helped a lot of people." Emma hugged Snowy tightly. "Did you hear that, Snowy? We're helping other kids." 6 months later, Sarah received a letter in the mail. It was from Margaret Thornfield, written from the county jail where she was serving her sentence. The letter was full of apologies and regret. Margaret wrote about how she had lost everything, her job, her home, her reputation, and how she finally understood the pain she had caused. She had enrolled in sensitivity training and volunteer work with disability organizations. Sarah showed the letter to Emma, reading it aloud in simple terms. "Does this mean the mean lady is sorry?" Emma asked. "Yes, I think she really is sorry now." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "Mommy, can we write her back? I want to tell her that I forgive her." Sarah was amazed by her daughter's capacity for forgiveness. Despite everything Margaret had put them through, Emma's heart remained pure and kind. They wrote a letter together, with Emma dictating and Sarah writing. In it, Emma expressed forgiveness and hoped that Margaret would use her experience to help other people instead of hurting them. 2 weeks later they received a response. Margaret had cried when she read Emma's letter. She promised to spend the rest of her life working to make up for her mistakes and to advocate for people with disabilities. Emma smiled when she heard this. "See, Mommy? Sometimes when people are mean, they just need someone to show them how to be kind." Sarah hugged her daughter, marveling at the wisdom of an 8-year-old who could find light in the darkest situations. The Emma's Angels fundraiser grew quickly, helping many families. Emma became a speaker for disabled children, sharing her story everywhere. When people asked Emma about that airport day, she would smile and pat Snowy. "It was scary," she would say, "but it taught me that most people are good and even mean ones can change." From those 3 terrible minutes came years of positive change, teaching the world that kindness always wins.